Nepal is reeling from its worst political violence in 2 decades. Our soldiers are patrolling the capital, Kathmandu, after protesters set parliament ablaze, forcing the Prime Minister to resign. News Central senior international correspondent Afua Hagan reports.
The streets of Kathmandu remain tense. Armoured vehicles and soldiers with loudspeakers have replaced demonstrators after days of violent protests left at least 19 people dead. What began on Monday as anger over corruption and a government ban on social media quickly escalated into a nationwide uprising. By Tuesday night, Parliament and other government buildings were in flames, supermarkets and media outlets ransacked, and the home of the former Prime Minister, KP Sharma Oli, set alight. Oli, a 4-time leader, has since resigned, saying his departure could pave the way for political dialogue. The Nepali army has now warned that vandalism and arson will be treated as crimes. Army Chief General Ashok Raj Sigdal has appealed for calm, urging protesters to call off demonstrations and return to the negotiating table. International concern is growing. The UN Secretary-General has called for restraint, while India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi stressed that Nepal's stability is vital for the region. But uncertainty hangs over what comes next. Analysts say the country urgently needs a transitional government that can win the trust of its restless youth, who make up more than 40% of Nepal's population and have been at the forefront of the uprising. For now, plumes of smoke still rise from Kathmandu's skyline as the nation of 30 million faces its deepest political crisis in a generation. For News Central, I'm Afua Hagan.
I'm present here today to immortalize a monumental change in the course of history. Nepal, our mother, this country gave us birth, nurtured us. But what did it ask in return? Just our honesty, our hard work, our contribution. But what are we doing? We are bounded by the chains of unemployment, fleeing abroad in search of opportunities. We are trapped by the selfish games of political parties. Corruption has woven a web that is extinguishing the light of our futures. Youth, rise! We are the torch bearers of change. If you do not raise our voices, who will? If you do not raise our voices, who will? If you do not build this nation, who will? We are the fire that will burn away the darkness. We are the storm that will sweep away injustice and bring prosperity. Our ancestors shed their blood to give us this nation. We cannot sell it. We cannot lose it. We are the fire. We will burn every...
Well, we have on standby with us Afua Hagan, our international correspondent, to unpack more of this. Thank you so much for joining us, Afua. Afua, tell us, what's the latest on the ground in Kathmandu? Are protests still continuing despite the army's presence?
Well, the protests have died down, so there is an uneasy peace on the streets of Kathmandu at the moment. The army have been deployed to keep any peace. Any instances of arson will be treated as a crime punishable by the army. And you have the army going through the streets with those loud hailers, warning people against any unnecessary travel. You also have some of the young people who were at this very start of these protests at the beginning of the week on Monday. They're actually moving through the streets and helping with the cleanup operations. So at the moment, like I said, it's an uneasy peace on the streets of Kathmandu right now. The army really holding court and holding fort and keeping everything as calm as possible.
All right, now this movement, has been driven largely by Nepal's young people, that's the Gen Zs. And apparently, allegedly, the last video that we watched, was released 6 months ago. And that was what we're told, allegedly, that it was what sparked the protest. But then what exactly are they demanding? And do they have leadership or organization behind them? That's the protesters.
Well, like you so rightly pointed out, that video that we just saw of that head boy of one of the schools in Nepal, it's people like that that have formed this groundswell. So there's no particular one organization. It's lots of young people that have come together, particularly on social media, calling out nepotism, the sons and daughters of people who are in government who have lavish amounts of money to spend, the corruption that they feel is going on in Nepal. And then there was that ban on 26 social media sites, including WhatsApp, Instagram, and Facebook. And that was because those social media sites had failed to register with Nepal's Office of Information Technology in time. So those sites got banned. And that really sparked those protests, made young people go out on the streets to campaign against that ban, against social media sites that are very much part of their young lives, to campaign against them being banned. There's been no sort of central leadership, if you will. It's been a number of youth collectives that have emerged that have been mobilizing all these people together and issuing calls for people to come out and protest and sharing those updates as much as they can without social media. You've seen students from colleges and universities, as well as people in school uniform from secondary schools coming out on the streets.
All right, now, I was actually about to ask, how much the government's ban on social media has actually backfired, but you did answer that, especially with TikTok still available and also fueling the protest. But then, India and the UN have both called for restraint. So how concerned are Nepal's neighbors, about instability spreading across the region?
Very concerned, especially India. Narendra Modi has been talking about this and appealing for calm. He's the Prime Minister of India. And of course, India and Nepal have an open border. And so there's concerns that, perhaps the violence could spill over the border, but there could be problems with the infrastructure. And of course, you could have refugees, you could have people fleeing from the violence if it erupts again. So India, very concerned. China, also very concerned. They have major stakes with billions invested in Nepal in their infrastructure under its Belt and Road Initiative. So they will also be very concerned as well. You talked a little bit there about these protests backfiring, and perhaps they have, because this ban on social media, you talked about the ban on social media backfiring. Yes, perhaps it has, because this ban has sparked this wider protest. And now what happens in Kathmandu no longer stays in Kathmandu. It could become a problem for the whole region.
Well, thank you so much for that update, Afua.